Long before roads cut through forests, before villages grew into cities, before humans even knew the power of iron, a boy named Ogun could shape metal like it was alive, forge weapons that could protect or destroy, and command the respect of gods. But power comes at a cost. His anger burned like fire, shaking forests, testing people, and challenging even the gods. Battles with kings, clashes with the god of thunder Shango, and a fleeting bond with the fiery goddess Oya would shape him, and the world would never be the same. What he did next would change everything, for humans, for gods, and for the fire and iron that shaped the world. This is where his story truly begins. Before we dive in, welcome to GriotbyKD. This is where we bring African history and mythology to life. If you enjoy stories like this video and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Long before the world looked like it does today, when the forests of Yoruba land were thick, alive with mystery and humming with spirits, a child was born in a place of storms and strength. His name was Ogun, and from the moment he entered the world, people whispered that he was no ordinary child. Some say he was the son of Oduduwa, the great ancestor who founded the Yoruba kingdoms. Others say he was older than kings, a being sent from the heavens, carrying iron in his hands and the fire of purpose in his heart. Whatever the truth, his story began in a world where life and spirit walked side by side. Yoruba communities then were bustling and close-knit. Men farmed yams, hunted wild animals, and cleared forests for villages. Women wove cloth, traded at markets, and cooked stews heavy with palm oil, pepper, and smoke. Children ran barefoot along riverbanks, laughing, dodging birds and monkeys alike. Life was full and dangerous. Spirits lived in every shadow. Animals roamed without fences, and every rustle in the bush could be a warning or a blessing. But Ogun was not afraid. Even as a boy, he was drawn to iron, the metal of strength and transformation. While other children carved toys from wood, he shaped his from stone. He would strike rocks together until sparks leapt out, his eyes glowing as though the fire itself recognized him. He spent hours observing hunters sharpening their spears, in women pounding metal ornaments, learning patience, weight, and balance. The elders noticed. "This boy's destiny is tied to iron," they whispered. "He will bring strength to his people." Seasons passed. The boy who once played with sparks grew into a young man with hands scarred from hammering, his arms strong from lifting, shaping, and bending metal. The forge became his world, tucked deep in the forest, where smoke curled toward the sky, like spirits rising from the earth, and the hammer's rhythm echoed under the sun and stars. Others had learned to pull metal from the earth, but it was Ogun who understood its spirit. Spears became sharper, hoes stronger, blades sang when struck. He taught his people that iron was not just a tool but a living force, one that demanded respect. He brought skill, but also danger, because in every creation there was the promise of destruction. People admired him and feared him. There was fire in his eyes, the kind that builds but also burns. They said Ogun's heart beat like the forge itself, loud, hot, and unstoppable. And so began the legend of Ogun, the god of iron, war, and craftsmanship. A warrior who walked between worlds human and divine, shaping civilization with his own hands. Before cities rose, before kings wore crowns, it was Ogun who cleared the path. There comes a moment in every great story when destiny stops whispering and begins to roar. For Ogun, that moment came beside the fire. One evening, as the sun sank behind the trees and the last light streaked the sky in orange and gold, Ogun struck iron again and again. Sparks leapt from the metal, dancing like tiny spirits. The fire glowed brighter than usual, flickering as though it had a life of its own. The heat wrapped around him, thick and heavy, and the air buzzed with energy. Then, something changed. The flames bent toward him, curling like living fingers. Sparks jumped higher, swirling around his hands. His heart thumped like a drum, his breath coming fast, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Witnesses later said the fire spoke that night, calling his name, swallowing him in its roar. But Ogun did not move. He stood still, letting the flames speak to him, letting the fire show him what he could become. When the fire finally calmed, he was no longer just a man. His skin glowed faintly like embers, his eyes burned like coals, and the iron in his hands shone brighter than moonlight. He could shape metal in ways no one else could, sharper, stronger, almost alive. Spears cut cleaner, hoes dug deeper, blades sang when struck. Villages thrived, forests opened new paths. Life became easier and more powerful for his people. But the gift came with a price. The fire that gave him strength also stirred a restlessness inside. His temper grew sharper, the ground sometimes trembled with the force of his hammer. The elders warned, a man who walks with fire must learn not to burn. Ogun could not turn away. He belonged to the forge now. Half man, half spirit, bound to iron and fire forever. His hands carried flame, his mind carried war, and his heart carried iron. From that night on, people remembered him not only as a teacher and protector, but as the god of iron, war, and craftsmanship. The forge had chosen him, fire had crowned him, and with that gift came the painful truth. Power, as he learned, never comes without sacrifice. But he did not keep this power for himself. He walked among the people, teaching, shaping, and building the world alongside them. The forests of Yoruba land were thick and wild. Thorny bushes clawed at the skin, rivers twisted like snakes, and animals roamed freely. People lived close to nature, moving cautiously through the land, hunting, farming, and trading. And it was here, in this untamed world, that Ogun carved the first paths. He showed humans how to smelt iron, how to forge blades, spears, and hoes, and how to use them with skill and care. Farmers could dig deeper into the earth, planting yams, millet, and other crops that fed entire villages. Hunters carried iron-tipped spears that cut through the forest with ease, keeping them safe from wild animals and rival clans. It was not easy. Thick forests resisted the paths he cleared. Stubborn stones blocked rivers, and wild beasts tested the courage of those who followed him. Every obstacle became a lesson in patience, skill, and strength. Villagers learned how to work together, how to respect the land, and how to honor the iron that protected and fed them. Through his guidance, Ogun did more than create tools. He created the first steps toward civilization. Villages grew along the roads he cleared. Farms flourished with iron hoes. Warriors trained with weapons forged by his hands, learning discipline, strategy, and respect for both the land and the iron that carried them. The elders spoke of him with awe. He cuts the earth open not to destroy, but to give life, they said. Parents told their children, follow his ways, work hard, respect the metal, respect the earth, and you will thrive. In teaching humans, Ogun showed that creation was not gentle. It was sweat and struggle, fire and perseverance. And in every swing of his hammer, he shaped not just metal, but the destiny of those who would carry the world forward. Before kings rose to the throne, before cities formed, it was Ogun who cleared the way, a god walking among mortals, turning the wild into home, teaching humans to shape both iron and destiny. Even the gods were restless. Among them was Shango, the Alafin of Oyo, a king whose might and temper were legendary. Oral tradition says Ogun and Shango were like brothers, though brothers whose pride often clashed. When their wills collided, the skies trembled. Sparks from Ogun's forge were said to duel with lightning bolts, fire against thunder. If you want to dive deeper into Shango's story, I've made a video about him, linked below. Some battles protected villages, others punished the reckless, and some tested sheer strength. Humans learned discipline and care, planting feet firmly, gripping iron-tipped spears, striking only when necessary. But Ogun could be terrifying. When angered, his voice rolled like thunder, and even those closest to him stepped carefully, wary of the thin line between justice and rage. Amid this, Oya appeared briefly, a woman of fire, whose fleeting bond with Ogun left a mark before destiny pulled her toward Shango. She would sometimes watch from the edge of the forge, sparks illuminating her face, admiring his skill, focus, and fire-born energy. For those curious about Oya's story, I've made a video about her as well, linked below. In one remembered battle, rival clans attacked a farming village at dusk. Villagers fled, but the forest was tangled and paths blocked. Ogun appeared, hammer in hand, forging weapons in the moment. Sparks flew as he struck iron, carving paths, throwing spears with precision. Oya moved like a shadow, guiding villagers to safety. The attackers scattered. Those who survived saw not just a god of war, but a teacher who turned fear into survival. Despite the fury, Ogun never forgot his mission. He forged paths, cleared forests, and built roads so hunters and traders could pass safely. Every swing of his hammer shaped both weapons and civilization itself. Around fires at night, people whispered of the god who walked with fire in his hands and war in his heart. Even gods feel the weight of their own power. For Ogun, the forge and battlefield had left him restless and scarred. The fire within him could create and protect, but it could also burn. Sometimes he vanished into the deep forest, hammer in hand, walking alone for days. Villagers glimpsed only a shadow moving through the trees, eyes glowing like coals, sparks dancing along his path. Some whispered that he spoke to the iron itself as if it were alive. In quieter moments, when the forge cooled and the fires dimmed, Ogun felt loneliness. Loved and revered, yet feared, even immortals carry sorrow. By the river, hands scorched from ironwork, he would stare at his reflection, wondering if anyone could truly understand a god who walks between worlds. Ogun's story is not just one of strength or victory. It is a tale of struggle, of fire that can forge and consume, and of a god who bears the weight of power, reminding mortals and immortals alike that every gift carries its cost. Even when the forge cools and the battle drums fall silent, Ogun is still here. His spirit moves in the rhythm of hammers on anvils, the grind of machines, and the hands of those who work with iron. In Yoruba land, the Ogun festival keeps him alive. The air smells of palm oil, kola nuts, and incense. Offerings of yams and iron tools line his shrine. Dancers in red and black stomp and sway, honoring the god who first taught humans to forge and fight. Across the world, Ogun's power stretches far. In Brazil, he is Ogum. In Cuba and Haiti, he is Ogu. Warriors, workers, and craftsmen call his name. Red cloth, drums, and iron mark his presence, fire, strength, and protection. Even today, in workshops and factories, in the hands of blacksmiths and engineers, the clash of metal is his hymn. Every hammer strike, every spinning gear whispers his name. Ogun's lesson is simple. Iron is alive. fire teaches. Power can destroy, but it can also build, protect, and transform. The warrior rests, not in silence, but in every spark, every strike, every heartbeat of creation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our Yoruba myths and legends. I want to hear from you. Which Orisha should we explore next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and maybe your pick will be the star of our next video. And check out my other videos.